Hello, thanks for joining us on the news. I'm Ruth Aguele. My sign language interpreter is John Bamidele. We're starting with the headlines. President Buhari approves more than 134.7 billion naira for payment of security debarment allowance to veterans who retired from the armed forces. African Development Bank emphasizes right of African countries to use their natural gas reserves. Plus, Federal Executive Council approves requests for additional operational vehicles for Federal Road Safety Board. President Muhammadu Buhari has approved more than 134.7 billion naira for the payment of security debarment allowance to all veterans who retired from the Nigerian Armed Forces with effect from 2017. The president, who dropped this cheering news at the launch of the 2023 Armed Forces Remembrance Day Emblem Appeal Fund, stressed the need for the enormous potential of the ex-servicemen be tapped for national development. State House correspondent Adam Sambo reports.
Apart from commemorating the nation's fallen heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice for the sake of humanity during the world and civil wars, as well as peace support operations, the launch of the Emblem Appeal Fund is also an opportunity to appreciate the troops still actively engaged in the daunting task of preserving national security. The federal government, President Buhari promised, will not relent in repositioning and strengthening all the nation's security agencies to enable them surmount prevailing challenges and provide a conducive environment free from threats and criminality.
I would like to reiterate my earlier resolve to hand over a Nigeria at the end of my tenure that is free from insecurity to the next generation of leaders, and with the gallantry and sacrifices exhibited by men and women of our armed forces in the campaign against insurgency, I am confident the nation will be returned to normalcy and will continue to battle decisively for the security challenges.
Citizens, he however said, must refrain from detrimental acts and statements that threaten national unity and integration, but rather engage in those that unite the country. The president, who reiterated government's commitment to the welfare of the nation's veterans, made a case for business enterprises to support the service personnel in form of discounts and rebates upon purchases and services rendered.
The emblem remains a symbol of remembrance and a beacon of hope for a peaceful future, with the unspoken message to our fallen heroes that their sacrifice was noble in the greater good of our fatherland. Adorning the emblem is one way we can identify with this sacrifice. I therefore wish to implore our students to procure the emblems and wear them with pride as a sign of patriotism and support for the armed forces.
The president announced a 10 million naira donation to the Nigerian Legion on behalf of the federal government, while pledges were made by the National Assembly, the armed forces, the police, and other security services. For Senate President Ahmed Lawan, the resolve by President Muhammadu Buhari to hand over a well-secured Nigeria to the next administration is a collective responsibility by all.
And the best and only and most logical thing to do for us in the National Assembly is to also participate in that enterprise of ensuring that we provide resources for the armed forces and other security agencies to continue to fight the insecurity that we face. And it's something that is doable. It's a matter of determination. And I'm taking this opportunity here to appeal to all Nigerians that we must at all times support our armed forces.
During the event, Government agencies at both federal and state levels, as well as the Defense and Services Headquarters, have been encouraged to interface with and patronize the veterans on matters of security, intelligence and strategy. From the State House, Adamu Sambu, NTA News.
The Federal Executive Council at its meeting this Wednesday also approved the request for additional operational vehicles for the Federal Road Safety Corps to ease some of its activities, especially as they work towards the prevention of road crashes. Let's hear from State House correspondent Jide Onifade.
Well, it is Yuletide season, at time when activities on the nation's highway are on the increase, and the Federal Executive Council look for a way to further strengthen the Federal Road Safety Corps so that Nigerians will have safe journeying.
The mandate of the Federal Road Safety Corps is to prevent or minimize accidents on the highway, clear obstructions on any part of the highways, and educate drivers, motorists, and other members of the public generally on the proper use of the highways. And considering the fact that vehicular movement will be on the increase at this festive period, and to ease the pressure this will put on the Commission, the Federal Executive Council at its meeting gave approval to the request of the Commission.
Operational vehicles for the Federal Road Safety Corps. Total 2,578,948,164 naira 36 kobo only. Please note that the contracts were secured by locally based auto manufacturers.
And the Education Minister Adamu speaks on what is happening in that sector.
I had 3 meals which were passed, and all the 3 of them are contracts. The first one is for the National Examination Council, NECO, for the printing of sensitive and non-sensitive materials, which was given to about, I think, 8 contractors in the sum of 5,107,364,373 naira 62 kobo. The second one is a contract for the supply of 18 ambulances fitted with medical equipment to 18 of our unity schools. We have more than 100 of them, so 18 we just decided to select 3 in each geopolitical zone. And the third one is a contract for the perimeter fencing of Usmanu Danfodio University.
The meeting was presided over by President Muhammadu Buhari in the State House. Jide Onifade, NTA News.
Let's take you to Egypt, where we hear Nigeria is building collaborations with potential investors to ramp finance for the implementation of the nation's energy transition plan at the United Nations Climate Change Conference in Egypt. On NTA reports.
Nigeria is the first country in Africa to develop a detailed energy transition plan. Accordingly, an energy transition working group was set up, chaired by the Vice President and supported by an energy transition office, to tackle the dual crisis of energy poverty and climate change. The plan details pathways for significant low-carbon development of energy systems across 5 key sectors of power, cooking, transport, industry, and oil and gas, highlighting the role of natural gas as a transition fuel on the path to net zero.
People from the private sector themselves to market it to the global community. So far, we've been able to pitch to the global community to market the transition plan, to attract funding to support the initiatives.
We're hoping to communicate to the global community that we are a country of action and that the projects we have are valid, they can be made bankable if they're not bankable already, and that we can really join hands to make those commitments from the international community to support the developing economies as well as Nigeria with that 100 billion that has been so evasive, that can be crystallized into true monies that are going to support Nigeria in that transition.
To be able to sign between 3 to 5 agreements with original equipment manufacturers for the gas as well as for the other energy infrastructure, for them to be able to come to Nigeria to set up shop, to set up factories for manufacturing and also for transfer of the relevant technology.
At COP27, Nigeria is exploring investment opportunities to kickstart the implementation of the energy transition plan.
The plan reflects a vision for Nigeria to kind of industrialize, right, through low carbon technologies. A plan that helps us fill out the streets with electric mobility, to power healthcare centers and schools with renewable energy. But to achieve this goal, we have to marry our climate aspirations with a pipeline of robust projects.
This interface with stakeholders also promotes progress that has been made on key climate-sensitive energy projects in the country. In Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt, NTA Fine Face, NTA News.
In another development, the African Development Bank President Dr. Akinwumi Adesina has emphasized that the right of African countries to use their natural gas reserves should be reflected in any deal at the COP27 climate talks, even as some nations push to see use of fuel curtailed. Justin Bam-Unyi reports.
We can save ourselves. Dollar for dollar, each dollar spent in renewable energy creates 3 times as many jobs as dollars spent in fossil energy.
Agreeing a deal on fossil fuels is a key sticking point at the COP27 talks. Reports have indicated that some countries, including India, are keen to phase down the use of such fuels, including gas. But the AFDB president says natural gas is needed to balance the energy supply, given the intermittent nature of renewables in Africa. The world is currently on course to meet its climate goal of limiting to 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial average by mid-century. Because of that, one focus at the conference has been on countries to accelerate their shift to renewable energy. And Dr. Adesina says the special nature of Africa, with the highest level of energy poverty in the world, has to be recognized.
When it comes to the issue of gas, the African Development Bank, we are the leader on this continent on renewable energy. We are putting 85% of our resources into renewable energy generation. But I recognize that renewables are very highly variable in terms of supply, so you got to make sure you have a balanced energy grid.
In the meantime, fossil fuels have not been included in the first bare-bones document, listing all possible elements of the COP27 UN Climate Summit covered decision to be adopted at the end of the conference. Justin Bam-Unyi, NTA News.
The International Atomic Energy Agency, IAEA, is on a follow-up mission in Nigeria to review the implementation progress and provide additional recommendations in furtherance to the nation's efforts to construct a multi-purpose nuclear research reactor. The multi-purpose research reactor is expected to fill in the gaps identified in the utilization of the nation's only research reactor, the NIRR-1, which has been operating for more than 14 years at the Center for Energy Research and Training in Zaria.
It's a project that is commercial, and also it has some capabilities for training, for research, and manpower development for the country.
The IAEA follow-up mission, organized by the Nigerian Atomic Energy Commission, is on integrated nuclear infrastructure review for the new research reactor for radioisotope production that will serve the whole of West African region.
At mission today, we are going to go into phase 2. It's a 3-phase affair. So we are ended phase 1 and we are going to phase 2, which means that we will look for bidders and vendors from where we can purchase this reactor and the installation can start in earnest.
From the global scene, Pope Francis condemns Russian strikes on Ukraine, warns against escalation over Poland blast. Polish president says no signs of international attack on Poland. It was probably an unfortunate incident. Let's get more details from Obiageli Woke.
Pope Francis on Wednesday has condemned the latest wave of missile attacks on Ukraine and appealed for a ceasefire to avert the risk of escalation of the conflict. In Brussels, NATO Director General Jens Stoltenberg says there was no indication that the missile strike that hit a Polish border village on Tuesday night was deliberate. Preliminary analysis, as previously reported, suggests the incident was caused by Ukrainian air defense missile fired to intercept a Russian missile. Meanwhile, Moscow denies launching strikes on Ukraine capital, says Russia images show Ukrainian S-300 missile hit Poland. In Bali, French President Emmanuel Macron meets Australian and Singaporean Prime Ministers Anthony Albanese and Lee Hsien Loong during a bilateral meeting on the sidelines of the G20 summit on Wednesday. Australia's relationship with France appears to be on the mend as leaders of both nations discuss working together on defense, security, climate change, and culture. In Africa, former Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta arrived on Tuesday in the key Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo city of Goma. His visit comes as the country's soldiers are engaged in renewed clashes with M23 rebels on the north of the city. Kenyatta appeals to all parties in the conflict to lay down their arms and nurture a sense of patriotism. The ex-president is a mediator in the East African community's attempt to bring about peace in the east of the Democratic Republic of Congo. Obiageli Ugoki, NTA News.
Well, let's come back. The National Human Rights Commission says it will continue to work in strengthening human rights activities in Nigeria. Executive Secretary of the Commission, Tony Ojukwu, stated this while receiving an audience UN Resident Coordinator on Human Rights, Matthias Schemel, on a familiarization tour to the Commission in Abuja.
In most countries, their national human rights decisions don't even have mandate to deal with security forces and so on and so forth. Our mandate is total. It is anything that is human right. There's nothing that is excluded from our mandate.
We're very clear. As resident coordinators, we must help countries save the development agenda. If we don't prioritize this, we will fail collectively. And the three priorities they gave out to Secretary General in particular was number one, education. And that's going to be interesting. I think there was a reference at one point by one of your colleagues to children out of school. Education is a basic right. So I think that's one area where we can explore further collaboration. Second one is climate change.
It is expected that the relationship between the National Human Rights Commission and the United Nations will promote and protect human rights of Nigerians in line with global best practices. A new international event has been added to the United Nations calendar of significant events. It is the International Day of Tolerance, celebrated for the first time ever in Nigeria. It is a move to curb the rising cases of war and diverse crises resulting to killings. Mansour Benyandeti will tell us more about it.
The only reason why a human being will intentionally fake a weapon to eliminate the life of another like him or her is simple: lack of love and tolerance. This has caused humanity so much pain, sorrow, and destruction. However, it has become pertinent for this to stop so that humanity can enjoy some peace and sameness. Hence the birth of the World Tolerance Day.
This, for the first time in the world, the United Nations is coming up with what is called the Tolerance Day. As a matter of fact, it is also the first time we're doing it in Nigeria, and looking into what is going to happen in Nigeria come the election 2023. It need not to stomach violence or anger in their heart. If at any moment our friend be placed, call my attention. Once you are able to see the other person as you see yourself, the world will be a peaceful place.
From diverse countries, races, tribes, and religion, these people are converged here at the Merit House Abuja to mark the World Tolerance Day in Nigeria.
Our association is today observing the day with a view
of making public statement that will promote tolerance in all its expected areas toward achieving it.
The day will be marked 16th of November every year. Momso Damien Dati, NTA News.
Presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party and former Vice President of Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar, has restated his commitment to ensure that necessary constitutional amendments that will cause a transfer of more powers and resources to other tiers of government is activated on its first day in office if elected president in the next year's election. Atiku made this position known during an interactive session with members of the Nigerian Guild of Editors in Lagos this Wednesday. The PDP presidential candidate said it was unfortunate that a section of the media chose to misinterpret his comments at a session with the Lagos Business School Alumni Association on Tuesday. They reported his remarks in a way that casts doubt on his readiness to implement the restructuring agenda, maintaining that the restructuring agenda is intact and it will be implemented from his first day in office. The former vice president, while responding to questions from the editors, said his administration would work closely with private sector towards ensuring that the gaps in infrastructural deficits are closed. The presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has assured the leadership of the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, that he will not run his administration on the basis of religion if elected president of Nigeria. The APC presidential candidate, who was speaking at an interactive meeting with the CAN leadership in Abuja, assured them that the same way his administration did not discriminate against anyone either based on tribe, religion or gender when he was Lagos governor, he would not start such in office as president. He was accompanied to the session by his wife, Senator Oluwami Tinubu, presidential running mate, Senator Kashim Shettima, and some stalwarts of the APC. The leadership of CAN on the new President Daniel Oko presented a charter of demands and issues to the APC presidential candidate, among which is the state police or a decentralized policing system, devolution of power to states, equal rights for all religions and their adherents, right to self-determination by all ethnic groups, right to control natural resources by communities that bear them among others. The national chairman of the People's Democratic Party, Senator Yorchia Ayu, says the party is set to quest the victory in the 2023 general elections and called on the need for unity of purpose among members towards attaining the collective goal. Timothy Yusuf reports that the chairman stated this while receiving reports of the Special Reconciliation Committee for Osun and Lagos States chapters.
The Special Reconciliation Committee, chaired by Yitayo Jegede SAN, was mandated by the PDP National Working Committee to reconcile and bring together various factions of the party under one umbrella. Osun factions of the party are already reconciled before the last governorship election in the state. The assignment here is submission of the committee's report on Lagos State. Chairman of the committee, Yitayo Jegede SAN, revealed that the Lagos chapter is now better united than before. PDP National Chairman Yorchia Ayu emphasized that when the leadership of the party at every level is united, the party has better chances of winning.
PDP will have a governor in Lagos and several positions to the house. And of course, crown with a massive issue that the country.
PDP will continue to work assiduously towards ensuring peace, unity and stability ahead of the forthcoming elections, the members assured. Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
Civil servants seeking to travel must forward within 2 weeks requests accompanied by appropriate and necessary documents for timely approval ahead of the expected travel time. This is to enable the Office of the Head of the Civil Service of the Federation time for due diligence on requests. The head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Folashade Yemi Esan, stated this. Let's get details from Hamman Jabani.
Not complying with extant rules as well as templates of foreign requests for approval for international travels and training, not to incur more costs and promote cost-saving measures in the light of the dwindling national resources are some of the reasons for the convergence of these officers from some ministries, departments and agencies responsible for international travel. Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Folashade Yemi-Eson, who was represented, says the need to be diligent and scrutinize requests for international travels and foreign training thoroughly by protocol officers and those in charge of international decks is sacrosanct.
Under the current regime, retrospective approvals are no more tenable, and so it's very important that desk officers are made aware. All requests are processed based on their merits as far as they are strategic and exigent to MDA's mandates, and they have budgetary provisions in the subsisting acts.
Some of the officers say their orientation has changed and all procedures for international travels will be duly followed for the interest of the country.
And I will go back to the MDAs to let them know what the guidelines, the rules that is behind the traveling abroad.
There is the need for good planning. There is need for us to be adequately informed about the travel documents.
Budget Office of the Federation, Independent Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Commission and other stakeholders say government is determined to save costs in the prevailing economic situation so as to make funds available for other priority projects. Ahmed Jabani, NTA News.
That's the news. Thank you very much for your time, and do well to continue to support NTA in the fight against rape and rapists. And with Aguele, my sign language interpreter is John Bamidele. Bye.